Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live here on YouTube. And tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit more about how to get to know people better. Hi, Isabel. Good to see you. And hi, Nana. I see you're there as well. So we had a fun, for those of you who might have missed it, we had a fun broadcast at lunchtime today when we were doing funny lines from funny people. And, the conversation drifted from that through to a number of subjects. I want to start off just by making sure that we all know we've got a number of viewers who are going through a particularly rough time at the moment. They are either in hospital or they're having surgical things done, or they've got family members that have suddenly been diagnosed with horrible things. So I just really did want to start off today yet again by saying, my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody. And I know that over and above just the things we know about, I'm sure there are a lot more things going on. So for all of you who are struggling at the moment, I send you very warm hugs. And I really hope that, that the coming months are easier for you. I'm sorry to hear that Rick's got a cold. I've heard nothing this week. Quite honestly, Nana, but people being hospitalized, people with cancer, people with all sorts of terrible things. So I just, really, I want to be grateful that all that's wrong with Rick is that he has a cold. Do you know what I mean? It's just that sort of mentality at the moment. So I do wish him well, and I hope you don't get it. That's the other thing. There's nothing worse than a man with a cold. Well, warm thoughts to you both, and thank you for being here. We had a number of good laughs at lunchtime, so I hope everybody that enjoyed. You have it too, Nana. Okay, well then, look after yourself, do all the things you tell me to do. That's one of the funny things, isn't it? We all are brilliant about advising others what to do when we get a cold, and rarely do we do it for ourselves. But let's hope that today would be it. What I wanted to do today was to give you a sort of an example of how to ask questions of people without it being too much sounding like you're putting them through some sort of interrogation, but also just so that you can see how you can get to know more about people just by asking the right questions. And hold on one second. I hope I'm not going to mess it up, but I think I'm going to actually plug in my microphone, in case any of you thought it's sounding a bit strange. Okay, do you hear the difference now? Hopefully. You can still hear me? Can somebody confirm if you can still hear me? Okay, good. Thanks, Jody. Anyway, so one of the things that I wanted to explain to you is that losing your pen at this stage of the game is not fun. Hang on one second. We know it's here because I had it at lunchtime. It's a case of where did it go to? There it is. Oh, Nana. Nana. I'm sorry that you see it that way. Anyway, so I rather was, anyway, I'm just going to leave that because I think, I have been dealing with really incredibly, never mind. So the reality is that we all get to meet people. And one of the things that I'm always being asked is, how do you get to know so much about people so quickly? And I said, I think it must be because I ask the right sort of questions. And so I thought what we'd do is a little bit of an experiment, and just, hi, Sai, good to see you. And to just show you how asking the right questions can get you, more information about somebody than you probably think. The most difficult thing that most people have is they don't know what to ask people. How many of you have had that problem? Where you sort of go, and I don't want to pry, but I really, would like to get to know this person better. A friend of mine that always amazed me. She always used to say, "I don't want to pry," and then she'd go, "Well, actually, yes, I do." Which I thought was so honest. I don't know if any of you can relate to that, where this is just something that you. Thanks, by the way, Jody. I appreciate the comment. This is where you just get to realize that sometimes you, in a way, almost need to pry in order to get the right bits of information. So the thing that I'm thinking about is, let's say that you meet somebody and you're going, what do you normally, may I ask you, because you guys have all met people, when you first meet people, what sort of question do you normally start with? Can you give me some sort of input? Pretend that you've met me for the first time. Presuming we've said hello, what would your hi Lauren, what would your next question to me be? Can you give me some sort of input on that one, just so that we can work this one? Because part of the interesting part of this is that if you don't ask a question, you don't have room to go to the next step. So, hi Niasha, how are you feeling, honey? So my reality is, be prepared to ask the first question. Right. So Lauren, your first question is, you'd ask how I am. And then, my response to you 9 times out of 10, Lauren, would be, are you asking me that to be social, or do you really want to know? Now, do you understand that answer from me probably already tells you something about me if you've never met me before? Would that be true? What would you, take in from that response? Because what I'm trying to do is to get you to realize that the way that people respond to things can tell you a great deal about them. And so if you ask me, hello, how are you? And I said, I just want to check, is this a social question, or do you really want to know? And because it surprises me how people answer that when I ask them that straight question. Because do you agree that those are 2 completely different answers? And one gets the social answer back again, which is fine, thank you, and you. And if you really want to know, then, hey, you'll never believe it. I had to go to a specialist this week and find out about a CAT scan. So you understand. So that's why I normally say things like that. The other thing is, I've noticed that it really gets people's attention. If they were just sort of being, thinking, just being socially polite, you see them sort of do a double take and say, what did you say? And I said, well, I was just checking. Do you want to know socially, or do you really want to know what's going on? The one takes a one-line answer, a couple of words. The other takes a paragraph. And what I found is most people start to laugh because they can see the difference. Obviously, Niasha saw the difference in that as well. And so, do you understand that asking how are you, we are so conditioned to that question. And would you agree with me? It's like people don't even notice it anymore. Like, hi, how are you? Fine. And you, it's like we don't even, it doesn't require anybody to think, because it's become a social, polite thing to say. So I recommend not asking the social, polite thing to say. In fact, even if you do, if you say, hi, how are you? By the way, I really do want to know, not the social bit. I've never met you before. Are you a well person? One question you might ask is, what questions could you ask to get more information? If you'd never met me before, what sort of questions would you ask me to find out more about you? And Lauren, I'm still asking you the question, from the answer that I gave you, what do you know about me? The fact that I didn't give you a standard answer, right? What I want you to think about is, what does that tell you about the other person? So you might want to check with them. I've never met you before, so help me here. I'd like to find out a couple of things about you, because, obviously like any human being, I'd like to see if we have anything in common that we could talk about. So one question you could ask is, may I be so bold as to ask you, what do you do with your free time? Now, if I asked any of you that question, what do you do with your free time? What would you answer in a social setting if somebody asked you that? And while you're typing your answers to that, I'd have to tell you, if somebody said to me, hi, nice to meet you, and chit chat. By the way, what do you do with your free time? I'd be going, yeah, right. Because I would have to be honest and say, do you mean in my normal, regular life or the life I've been living for the last year? Because I'm, being busy downsizing, and that takes up a lot of my time. And I'm also a YouTuber, which takes up a lot of my time. So when I'm not totally involved with those two things, I love to paint. So you see, if I ask the right question of you, I'm likely to find out maybe what your hobbies are, maybe what's going on in your life. So if I asked you guys, what do you like to do in your free time? What would you answer? How many of you are going, what free time? And you see, that I think that's a perfectly okay question to ask back. If that's how you really feel, like, honestly, I would love free time. I don't appear to have any at the moment. That is an honest answer, and it tells the person who's asking you that you're a little bit overwhelmed at the moment. And that's okay, because we can all relate to that, right? So another question you might want to throw in somewhere along the line is, if you were perfectly honest with yourself, would you say you're an indoor person or an outdoor person? Now, I definitely have to say I'm an indoor person in the winter. I'm a stay indoors as much as I can person in the winter. In the summer, I'm more of an outdoor person, but even then, I wouldn't say I was a seriously outdoor person. I'm not often going off on a hike for 3 hours or something. All right, so Jodi's answer would be to me, what do you like to do in your free time? She would say, I love to bake, write, read, watch movies. I'm a frustrated painter. So you see, that tells us a lot about Jodi, right? We know that she's probably more likely to be an indoor person anyway, just by virtue of what she answered. And by the way, why is she a frustrated painter? That would be my next question. Yeah, it lends itself perfectly to the next question. All right, I hear you say that you're a frustrated painter. Is that because you're not giving your painting enough of your time, or does painting frustrate you? All right, Jodi, and do you understand? Because I could ask you both those questions and they'd both be relevant for me. Are you frustrated as a painter because you're a perfectionist? Right, Lauren would say, I love to read and scrapbook, and I'm very much an indoor person. Yes, absolutely. And I would ask back to you, Lauren, what is it about scrapbooking that you love so much? All right, so Nyasha's answering, I don't have free time, but my hobbies are computers and crocheting. So my question back to Nyasha would be two things. Number one, what is it you love to do on the computer? What is it about the computer that fascinates you? And secondly, what's your favorite thing to crochet? Because either of those answers will give me more information. All right. So Lauren's saying she likes to scrapbook because she loves being creative, and it gets me out of my head. It gets you. I understand totally what you're saying, Lauren. It gets you out of your intellect. It gets you out of left brain and into your right brain. It tells me, yeah, and we all have things that we do to try and achieve that. Yeah, Jody's saying, yes, it frustrates me because I'm a perfectionist. I really, we knew that already. And I don't have the talent I wish I had. Yeah, you'd make it a funny moment. But the interesting thing is that's absolutely the truth, though. It's not funny. It's the truth. Number one, you are a perfectionist. And number two, you would like to have more talent than you do. Now, my question back to you would be, wow, Jody, if you had all the talent in the world, what would you be painting? And by the way, my follow-up question would be, how do you think talented artists become talented? That would be my next question. Niesh is saying, computers do fascinate me. Yeah, I understand. Just the look of them or what they can do would be my follow-up question. And if the answer is for what they do, I would ask what you most like to do on your computer. Do you understand that each question brings an answer, each answer brings another question? Now, are you getting the idea of this? So I can find out a great deal about people with very little time sometimes, depending on how active they are, how much they like to participate in the game. Yes, Jody, if artists practice, they actually get better. Yes, and then Jody says, I see your point. I must be going now. It's nice to have met you. I have a painting to get to. Yes, exactly, Jody. It makes you realize that the reason that you're not as good as you would like to be is you don't spend enough time doing it. And I know that there's part of you that is saying to me, yes, but it doesn't matter how much you do, right? I will never have that much talent. Nana, I've already said I was really sorry to hear you were sick. I said I was really sorry to hear that Rick was sick. I'm not quite sure what else. Did you want everybody in the room to say that as well? Help me understand why you feel unsupported. I don't know if you know, well, never mind, it probably doesn't matter. So I'm sorry that you've never been so sick in your life. I've never heard, that to me is... All right. So go ahead, Nana. You can share as much as you need to. I won't necessarily read it all out, but if you're trying to share for the sake of the room, then that's fine. Wow, I really hear some judgment here, Nana, and I'm sorry that you feel that way. I really do. Nana, if you care to hear my side of it, I'll gladly give it to you. I am genuinely sorry that you and Rick are not well. And I'm not quite sure what else I can do about that. How you take that is up to you. All right. I'm dealing with at least 4 people I know dealing with cancer at the moment. At least 3 people I know are in hospital, and 2 people I know have got people dying this week. So you understand that when I hear you've got a cold, I'm very sorry for you because they can be horrible. But I am really grateful it's not pneumonia. I'm really grateful it's not pleurisy. I'm really grateful it's not something a lot more serious than a cold. So if it is more serious than a cold, and I know it feels horrible. Exactly, Nana. So that is the whole point that I'm saying, that I realize there must have been more to this than you're saying, because your reaction was, really strong. Is that the lady that lives close to you that's going into a home? If so, I would have thought that you probably think that's the safest place for her, because I remember you talking about that before. Hi, Jamie. Yeah. You know, something as part of me that goes, I'm certain at some level you're probably very sad because you will miss her to some degree, but obviously you can still visit her. But from what I gathered, you really did think she belonged in a home. That was the one where the son didn't look after her properly, if I remember correctly. All right, so another question that you could ask is, who is the most fascinating person you've ever met? So if I met you for the first time and we got over the hello, how are you? If I asked you, who is the most fascinating person you've ever met? How would you answer that? I'm trying to think how I'd answer. Yeah. Why can't I think of his name? Who's the guy from the Rockford Files? I can see him and I can't think of his name. Isn't it terrible? My mind's really going. I'm going to kick myself. James Garner. Here we go. James Garner. All right. So I'd have to say that for a number of reasons, I think he was one of the most interesting people I've ever met. Thanks, Jody. I got there before you did, or before your comment came up. I'd have to say that of all the people I've met, and I've met so many interesting ones, James Garner stands in my mind as a really interesting person. I'm glad I met him because he really was as nice firsthand as I always thought he played. You know what I mean? I always thought he played the part, but he actually was charming in so many different levels. And, you know, he and I sat on two oil drums and talked for about half an hour or so. And I'm going, I can't believe I'm sitting here on an oil drum talking to James Garner, you know, and it was just like, I was so happy it wasn't even funny. And so, but, you know, I've met a lot of interesting people. Yeah, he seemed like such a nice guy. And that's why I'm saying that he really was. You know, I also got to meet, you know, as some of you know, I've got to meet some interesting kings and princes and things in my time. The person, the one person I met, and I literally went, hello. I didn't realize he was that short, was Steve McQueen. You know, he really was. Hi, Charlotte. He really was incredibly short. He stood about 5'2", which, you know, for a guy was, I'd have to check it, but he you know, I remember I looked down at him and I'm, you know, I'm not that tall. Yes, Sharon, I'm glad that you liked him as well. James Garner, I want to tell you, it's like that guy doesn't act. He just is that person. And, you know, we've had a number of people in our time. And you know, I've met some really important people and I found them absolute horrors. So if you said, you know, who was the most, now I'm not saying that everybody gets to meet fancy people necessarily, but in your life, wow. Jody's saying she had a little bit of a friendship with Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue. Is that right? Nikki Sixx, wow. He's so very genuine and such a nice guy. Yes, I think that the interesting thing is sometimes we meet these people that we imagine are all full of ego, and they actually are quite regular people. And I think that's wonderful that you do that. So let me ask you, did that question, you know, who's the most fascinating person you've met, does that make you sort of think a little bit as well? Because I think part of the whole thing about getting to know people is that, you know, show a genuine interest in that sort of question. And, you know, but because not everybody has met well-known, fascinating people necessarily, you go, I don't mind if it's your great-grandmother. You know, who was the most fascinating person in your life that you've met? Because in whatever they answer, you know, Jody talking about Nikki Sixx, you know, look at how she answered it. He was very genuine and such a nice guy. So what do I know about Jody by that answer? We know that Jody appreciates genuine people and good ones. So do you see that in every answer you get from somebody, you have the ability to add a bit more information? So if I asked you all, you know, what was the last book you read, or what book are you reading at the moment? And I don't mind whether that's an ebook or a magazine or whatever. What is the last thing that you read, you know, in terms of a book or a magazine? Okay, so Kurt Fearnley is who, Lauren? You'll forgive me for not knowing. I've got a feeling he's an athlete. Oh, why does that name ring a bell? Right, Lauren's saying that she's reading Kurt Fearnley's autobiography. All right, so that tells me that Lauren likes to know deeper levels about people. He's a Paralympic athlete. Yes, I thought I recognized the name. All right, so Beth is saying the most interesting person I've met since changing is me. Isn't that a great answer? I didn't know this person, but I truly love myself. That's a great answer, Beth, because that tells me immediately that you are busy doing a lot of work on yourself, all right? And not many people, with all due respect, Beth, not many people would have the, excuse me for saying this, the sphericals to actually answer that honestly like that you find yourself interesting. Yeah, it's a great answer. That would really get my attention if you answered like that. It would make me want to, you know, to find out a great deal more about you and your experience. Great answer. Love it. Yes, and you know, that's part of what has happened for you, right? Now that you've let down the walls a bit, you can let people in and you enjoy learning about other people. Yes. And you, it's amazing what you can learn about other people. Yeah, a big round of applause to Beth as well. Yes, we all need to know ourselves better. And you know, the whole reason that we're doing this year talking about the these emotional type areas is because when we can understand these things better, we will actually be happier. And you know, and it's amazing how that actually comes about when you can really get interested in who you are and you know who other people are. It's amazing. So anybody else, anybody want to answer what book or magazine they've been reading recently? As you know, I'm actually still trying to read about 4 books at the same time. All right, so Isabel is saying the name of the book I read now, it's in French, but its translation sounds like your second life begins when you understand that you only have one. Yes, isn't that's a great, I understand the title. Yes, Beth is saying I love myself so I can love others. Yeah. You know, what a wonderful gift to have given yourself, Beth. I'm so proud of you for that. Yeah, how about what is your favorite TV? You know, if you had to choose your favorite TV program, what genre would it be? You know, what sort of what do you watch most? Do you watch, you know, the you know, as I call it, Heartland Hills and Snowflake Falls? You know, all the Hallmark type love stories. Is that what you prefer to watch, or you know, do you like to watch A&E or yes, Beth's going the Walking Dead. Yeah, right. So, what does that tell me about Beth? And that she's really into herself, but she also has this quirky side of her where she enjoys the Walking Dead. Yes, and Lauren likes to watch the medical shows, but not the real life ones. Good for you, Lauren. A nice distinction. So that is very important. All right, so Nyasha, who's been away from the computers, just come back again, and she said, in regard to loving computers, I basically like the enhancement of photographs. You know, she likes putting borders on them, putting drop shadows and things like that. And in crochet, she says she like anything once it's been taught to me. That's awesome. I don't know if you know it, Nyasha, but I have in my time probably crocheted about 20 or 30 blankets for people. You know, and the really fancy ones with the tassels and everything on them. Jodie saying she likes to watch reality TV on Bravo, on PBS. She said she loses brain cells and then she gets them back again. So at present, Nyasha's working on hanging flower wall holders, you know, like macrame, I would presume. Jodie loves to crochet and knit. I didn't know that about Jodie. So isn't that interesting that some of you have that in common? So anybody else with their favorite television things? I don't know why. And I was wondering whether, you know, there's some deep psychological thing about this. I love to watch all those coroner type things, you know, where they piece together incredible information just from tiny little things that they find, you know, like CSI type stuff. I don't know why I find that so fascinating. Nyasha, a blanket, it depends how big you make it. You know, quite honestly, I used to be able to sit and probably do a blanket in a month without any problem, maybe less, maybe a couple of weeks if I'd watched a lot of television, because I used to do them watching television. So, and I found them really fun to do, and it kept me off the streets, as they say. Yeah, so I realized that there are two sorts of television programs that I watch quickly. I mean, I make time for. And what I love today is that, you know, we can watch so much more when we want to watch it because of the computer. But I definitely am into those forensic type things. And, you know, I love the real life detective things where they actually show you, you know, a detective and this was his worst case and this is how he put it all together. So what does that tell you about me? You know, that's what I was wondering. I wonder what that says about me, that I love to watch things like that. It's like jigsaw puzzles, you know, where you're going, that was a really interesting. And how many of you watch programs like that, murder mysteries and stuff, and you're looking for the clues? Why did they add that line in there? Is it part of the clue? So, you know, I spend my life, you know, looking for the clues that they drop in between. I don't always get them right. It's interesting, Lauren. Lauren thinks I might have been a forensic type person in another life. But it really is, something I was thinking, gosh, isn't that interesting that I choose to do that? Part of me has a bit of a horror if anybody ever searches my computer. Will they think I'm a, soon to be serial killer or something? Okay. So Beth is saying your mind needs stimulation. You must feed the mind to fill your soul. Right. And Nyasha loves medical shows. Now, the question that I have, Nyasha, is that acting medical shows or real life medical shows? Because Lauren was saying she loves medical shows, but not the real life ones. So I've never liked medical shows that much until New Amsterdam. I've got to admit, I'm very addicted to that one. I'm too nice to be a serial killer. Yeah, so was Bundy. He was charming. There is no such thing, unfortunately. All right. So if I asked you all the next question, which, have you ever had pets? Yes, Beth also likes the medical examiner type ones. Yeah, I must admit, I like those sort of things. All right, Sharon's saying medical shows, real life, and real life police and investigation. Oh, I'm so glad I'm not alone. Nyasha's saying, okay, so what I'm saying, that the difference would be that some programs, let's think about those. Which are the medical ones that are not real? New Amsterdam is not real life. What's the other? Grey's Anatomy is not real life. It's all acted. But which medical ones are real life? Perhaps that's easier to answer. Yeah, ER is acted, right? And I don't know All Saints. Now, there's some pretty good medical ones, paramedic type ones that come out of Australia. I've watched some of those accidentally and quite enjoyed them. Where they're sending people into the bush to go and help people. Oh, so 24 hours on A&E is real life. Okay. So do you understand what we're saying about some of them are just people acting as though they're in the medical business, and then others are real life doctors and nurses doing stuff, or paramedics or whatever? All right. So Beth, who is highly competitive anyway, that's why it's a good idea. You see, Beth said she likes Survivor. She loves the competitions. So that also automatically gives us another piece of Beth's puzzle. So let's say, is it important to find out if the person you're talking to is highly competitive or loves to, because I was thinking about that earlier, Beth. If people ask me, are you competitive? What sports have you played? Is a great question to ask somebody. Because the very type of sports that they have played will tell you a lot about them. So let's ask that question. In your lifetime, if you have played sports, what sports did you play? And let me try and demonstrate what I'm trying to talk about here. All right, so Nyasha's got a better idea now, right? And she does watch them all the same as we do. So what sports, if any, did you play when you were at school, or what sports do you still play? Yeah, Jodi's idea of sports was mini golf. Which tells us a lot about Jodi, that she loves to laugh. All right, did you play competitive mini golf? Did you take it seriously, or did you just like to putter around? Lauren did a bit of wheelchair racing. Now, that's pretty interesting. Did you ever do any wheelchair sports? Sharon played softball. Now, the fact that Sharon played softball tells you quite a bit. And by the way, when you were fielding, Sharon, where did you field? That would be my next question. Right, Isabel says aquaform. I'm not into sports, all right, but she's prepared to get into the water. Good for you. So Sharon, playing softball tells me that you have team spirit as part of your makeup. So all right. So you think about that, and she played the center position when she's fielding. So it tells us a lot. She likes to be in the line of fire, but she also plays. She participates on a team. Yes, Jody, I can see. Glad that you can see that why that's a good question. All right, how you play. I've met people who play very competitive mini golf. They don't know how to do that without wanting to win. All right, so Lauren, remember I asked her, did she ever do anything else in wheelchair? So she played basketball against an able-bodied person, but it was too dangerous for them or for you. So let me see, from all that you guys know about me, and some of you may already know, what sports do you think I played, if any? Just so that we can get an idea. Beth's saying no sports at all. Her mum's illness would have kept you locked away. It makes sense, yes. But if I was free to spread my wings when I was little, I would have been in everything I could do. I'm a go-getter now, unlocked and free. Yes. Have you ever thought about maybe, taking up a sport now that you can? Right. Isabel played tennis or badminton. Tells us a lot about Isabel, right? Think about that. Tennis, that means, and badminton, that means she's got eyeball coordination, as they call it. All right. She's capable of walking and chewing gum at the same time. So, for me, you think I played tennis or badminton? Yes, you're right. I did play tennis. Yeah, that's very good. What else do you think? And what made you think I played tennis? All right. Now, Jody's saying maybe soccer, field hockey. That's quite funny. I played field hockey. I was first team field hockey. I also played first team lacrosse. I was first team tennis. I also started the first girls rugby group at my school. I was big into sports generally. I didn't know it, but I played first team lacrosse as well. Now, I keep saying first team because it was interesting. I never thought that I was very competitive, but apparently I was. Do you understand? It was just like they kept putting me on teams. I kept going, okay, fine. And it was like, it was really weird. I'd go and play. And I can remember I didn't want to get into track and field, but the sports coach put up a notice and said, all these people will be attending for relay practice, including, and then my name. And I'm going, I don't have any of that equipment. So I pitched up for track and field wearing my hockey boots. How many of you can imagine me doing that? I didn't have runners, the proper spikes and things. All I had were my hockey boots. And when they did the trial run, Wow, that's interesting. Hi, Super Horseman. Good to see you again. You know, when they were doing the trials, I literally was, now some of you can imagine this, I was busy running down the field with my hockey boots on, chatting to the other runners as I went. But you notice I was turning to talk to them because it was, you know, a bit lonely where I was. It was just like, I want to tell you that the coach was going insane. She said, "Who runs that fast in hockey boots and with your build, right?" Because I'm actually built like a javelin thrower rather than you know, a runner. But I ended up being on you know, the relay team and everything else, and it was really funny because I'd never ever in my school life actually you know, done that sort of stuff. I'd always played defensive positions. And that's another thing to ask people. If you found out that Sharon, what was it that Sharon said that she played? How is Vancouver? It's very pretty today. Where's Sharon? Okay, so she played center, all right? So always, if you know anybody that played a team sport, always ask them what position they played. Why? It will tell you a lot about their character. Some people, yeah, softball. For example, if you know that I played, you know, tennis is normally quite an individual sport. So find out, did they play doubles or singles? All right, if you find out somebody played tennis, did they play singles or doubles? Why? Because the game is different. Singles is very isolated, whereas doubles, it's teamwork again. So I found that whenever I played sports, I nearly always played defense. It wasn't, you see, and that's what confused me. What confused me was, why did they pick me to do athletics when I always played defense? The thing was that my sports coach realized that even though I always played defense, I nearly always ended up a long way away from defense because of my speed. You know, if I ever got hold of the, you know, I played lacrosse and everything else. Whenever I did, you know, when I got hold of the ball, I had two things going for me: an incredibly powerful shot. You know, I was very good with hockey and with lacrosse because I had a lot of upper body strength. I used to ride a great deal, and riding gives you a lot of upper body strength as well. And so, you know, it's an interesting thing to see that. So I just realized I haven't got something plugged in here, and I need to get it plugged in. Hold on a second. So, all right, so Super Horseman played doubles in tennis, all right? So that's, again, an important thing, that you played doubles, all right? So you like the teamwork of it. And that's the whole thing, because, you know, you say in high school, I think most of us did most of our sports in high school. And so I think it, you know, you can find out a lot about people. What sports did they play? What sort of sports? Now, you know, I didn't play bowling or stuff like that. You know, I played high contact, Beth, high competition sports, right? You think about it, lacrosse is a very dangerous game. One of the most dangerous games there are. You know, it's like, it's a really dangerous game. Do I have a good backhand? In my day, I did, yes, enough to be first team. But now, no. You see, now Lauren's thinking about taking up wheelchair tennis. I think that's wonderful. I bet you that if you spoke to, do you have the YWCA or the YMCA in your area, Lauren? I bet you could find somebody who would help you with that. Because the thing is, you don't really want to necessarily become too competitive right now. You just want to have somebody that can help you learn how to do it, right? You don't have one locally. Okay. Do you have any sort of youth program like that? All right, so you also, interesting, Horseman, you also played basketball at a high level, volleyball, and ultimate frisbee. I played ultimate frisbee once. I loved it. I know, I don't know, is ultimate frisbee like frisbee golf? I had a wicked lob as well. I know, a wicked smash, and and a really, really devastating serve when I was going. Yes, Beth, I can understand that. All right, that you really feel quite upset that you didn't get a childhood as most people did. All right. Yeah, and I would think anybody that lived your childhood would feel the same, Beth. I think that's quite normal. But I would recommend that to start thinking, what did your little kid miss out on, and start doing it anyway. You know, if you're going, I would love to have done sports, you know, then still do it. You've still got time. Yeah, I was very competitive at school. And in fact, most of my life, I was very competitive. I have noticed that as I've got older, I have become less and less competitive. And that's what I would say to people if they ask me about that. The other thing is, you know, where have you, you know, the other question I would ask is, you know, have you traveled at all? You know, because it's interesting to find out that some people, you know, have never traveled outside their own town, never mind their own state. Other people have seen the world. Yeah, I played something once, Horseman, that was like, it was like frisbee golf. You had to, you know, throw the frisbee through challenging, you know, like through a tire or up over a tree branch or whatever. I loved it. I thought that was a great game, but boy, I was exhausted when I finished and it went across like two football fields, but it was awesome fun to do. Yes, the other thing I wanted to say, you know, if you talk about hobbies, you know, I did a lot of riding as a young person. So again, riding is inclined to be, you're not a group sport necessarily. But then if you bother to ask me more questions, you would also find out that I didn't just do riding, I did dressage riding, which is when the horse does all the fancy dance moves. And that requires hours and hours and hours of patient working with a horse, going around in circles and things. So, you know, again, you learn something about the person in terms of it. All right, the fact that, you know, Horseman was into so many sports. Yeah, so you understand what I meant by frisbee golf. I thought that was a great game. You know, I was playing it, by the way, Horseman, I was playing it with teenagers. They taught me how to do it. Um, Mind you, they also taught me how to play catch the flag. What's it? Capture the flag. I was evil at that. Right. So Nyasha's saying she always liked, would have liked, and wished she could access swimming lessons as a child, but couldn't due to your slowness. But now you're able to. Yes, it's you're never too late. You know, I'm a great believer that you know, take up any sports you never had a chance to take in. Right. Beth remembers using her hula hoop, so we know that she has good rhythm. That requires a lot of skill, the hula hoop, a lot of dexterity and rhythm. So you probably dance well as well, Beth. Am I correct in that? Let's see if I. All right, Jody was on the bowling team. All right, now, Jody, I would ask you as my next question, why? Why did you join the bowling team? Hi, Erin. Because people do sports for different reasons. All right, so that's another line of questioning. And to me, how many people here went bowling because of the social aspect of it? And they didn't really worry too much about the score. I just wanted to be, chit-chatting with everybody, and every now and then you get up and huck a ball down the lanes. For, an awful lot of people, there are other people that go because it's very competitive. Now, Erin, you're saying you did choir all through middle school and high school. Well, I want to tell you something. That's teamwork as well. Now, I'm pretty sure, Beth, from what I know about you, you probably are an awesome dancer if you ever gave yourself that permission. Yes, Jody, for friendships. Yeah, I can imagine that with you, right? That I can't imagine you doing it to be in competition, because that's not the sense I get about you at all. All right, now here's another interesting question to ask somebody if you've never met them before. As this is the first time I've met you, are you a morning person or a night owl? How would you answer that? Or you might say, if you didn't have to worry about society, what hour would you like to go to bed and what hour would you like to wake up? And what would you do with the time in between? Because I think it isn't, they're definitely, I found, for example, that the hours that I had to do when I was in society and before I retired are very different from the hours I keep. I actually, in a way, slept better when I was working than I do now. Right. And so horsemen, obviously very competitive, right? I like bowling to get the best score, right? Always looking to improve, always looking to get the best possible score. And a morning person. So, so is that out of choice, or is it because your work requires that you wake up in the mornings? Because I say to people now that I'm retired, mornings don't come into my life very much. Somebody says, let's make this appointment for 9 o'clock on Mondays. I go, no, try afternoon. You wake up at 4 o'clock and you start writing. Now that tells us something about you, horseman. May we know, are you writing a book? Are you writing poetry? Are you writing, in terms of meditation? What do you write? All right. Erin says she's basically a night owl, but she's perfectly happy waking up. She doesn't really mind getting up early. Kez, hi Kez, good to see you. A night owl because there are a lot of great shows on TV. Yes, later, right? All right, so Sharon says she now dreams of being asleep by 10 and awake by 7. Yeah, I don't know those hours at all. Now you're lucky if you get 4 hours sleep. I'm busy. I don't know if you know, Sharon, at the moment, I'm busy trying to average 7 hours sleep a night. It's very difficult, but that's what I'm trying to do. Beth is saying she'd love to go to bed at 8 and get up at 6, but you're a night owl. So you normally don't get to bed until midnight, after midnight, right? And get up at 6, right? And Jody's saying, I wish I was more of a morning person, but I'm a night owl. I often don't go to bed until 2 or 3 a.m. And she's saying her pain is the worst in the morning hours. Yes, so that's good reason to be asleep then if you can. All right, so Horseman's saying, out of choice, he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I do my best work then. And society is not up and working yet. He's writing a sequel to his book. Did we now find out a really interesting part about Horseman just by asking that question? And that would beg my next question to Horseman. What sort of book was the original? And, are we talking fiction or nonfiction? Presumably fiction. And what sort of, James, what sort of area are you in? Is it science fiction? Is it, what sort of genre is it in? Yeah, I think we should actually have a little group of night owls unite, right? Sharon said, I'm absolutely amazed how often I'm talking to Jody at 2 o'clock my time, which means it must be 5 o'clock her time. It's scary sometimes. I'm going, I should not be talking to her at this time of the night. So you see, just by asking whether you're a night owl or a morning person, we find out that James is a writer. Did you see how that happened? Science fiction. That's what I said. Why did I have a sense it would be science fiction? All right, so Jody's saying we sure can chat it up sometimes. Yeah, we do. Erin's saying that she agrees with Jody. The pain is really bad in the morning as well. You also write poetry. Yeah. What was the second thing I said? I said science fiction, or do you write poetry? And you do both. Wow. 2 for 2 on that one. So, Erin, there's part of me that goes, perhaps we should just start a little club of the night owls, and so in the morning people can start their own. We don't know that. And because if you are in pain early in the morning, then I'm sure that the distraction is helpful. How many of you can understand? Another good question to ask somebody is, how many brothers and sisters do you have? I really, I'm looking at your picture, Horseman. Do you have a picture of a woman, or are you? And now I'm totally confused. Is there a picture of a woman on your thing? I haven't got my glasses on. Yeah, but that was funny, wasn't it? The 2 things I mentioned are the 2 things that you do. I don't know. I don't know why I got that right. So, how many brothers and sisters do you have? All right. So, Kes is saying I'm one of 3, and she has an older brother and sister. All right. So that tells that tells me that Kes. Probably. That's right. It is Natalie Portman. Okay, thank you. I'm going, that almost looks like a woman. Either that or you were a cross-dresser. I wasn't quite sure, James, which it was. All right, so Nyasha's a single child, all right? That means her experience of life would be very different from Kez's, where she's got an older brother and sister. All right, so if you grew up on your own, it's a very different life than those of you who did any of you grow up in a very large family? I was one of 5 children. So you know that my experience is different again. Right, Beth has 3 sisters. One is a half sister. I had a half brother and a half sister, and a biological brother and a biological sister. So yeah, blended family. So my experience was weird because the rules were different depending. All right, so James has a younger sister. So you're used to being the man of the house. Sharon is the oldest. She has a brother and a sister in that order. So Sharon, you've always been the responsible one, right? And now you have a nephew. I can imagine you probably like being a nephew. All right, so Jody had a sister that passed at 3 days old. So how old were you when your sister passed? And a brother that was 12 years old. That must have been quite lonely because that's a big age difference. Yeah. You know, to me, that's like you lost one and the other was far away from you in terms, you know, it wasn't close. Yeah, I can see you thoroughly enjoying being an uncle. All right, your sister passed before you were born, so that was really a big gap for you, right? Your sibling was 12 years older. That's a lifetime older. Right. So Sharon's going, I'm a typical older child, right? I'm a fixer. I try to fix everything and everyone, and I don't like conflict. Right. All right. Are there any of you that were, you know, lower down the list? I want to tell you, Sharon, it's really interesting in my family dynamic that my sister hates me because I was the younger one. And I didn't have the same rules that she did, apparently. You know, and she hates me for it. It was like it wasn't my fault, you know. Yes, you know, Jody, I could feel that it would have been very lonely. But, you know, you felt like an only child. Yes, I can totally understand that. All right, here's another question that's bound to open up some interesting dialogue. You don't have an answer. Erin says, I don't have an answer about 2 brothers and sisters for you to call. You know, I'm an only child, very spoiled child. Yeah, I love that, Erin. So let me ask you this. If you forgot about all your qualifications you do or do not have, if you forgot about what your experience is and everything else, if you could have your dream job, what would it be? What would your dream job be? Let's see what sort of input we get. I'm hoping that you can see with these questions, each time we get an answer, we find out a little bit more about everybody, which is the whole reason to ask questions. What would your dream job be? All right. So James is saying that you're doing your dream job right now. Are we allowed to know what that is? And again, that tells us a lot about James, because if we put that into the jigsaw puzzle that's called James, we know that he has a creative side to him. Now, the question is, what is the dream job? I'm dying to hear what that is. Gosh, Beth is saying her husband's side of the family has 10 sets of twins and one set of triplets. And then I went and had a set of twins. I said no more after that. All right, so Jody's saying a great question. It changes from time to time, but I'd love to be a greeting card artist and also to be on a movie set as script supervisor. Mother hen. I can actually see you, I can see you being PA to somebody as well, Jody, where you just sort out their life for them. All right, Nyasha would have loved to be an office person. Kes is saying, I'm studying to be a childcare worker. And I know it'll be a passion, not a job. Yes. Okay, so James is saying, in the fall, I'm a scare actor for a haunted farm. What fun is that? You scare the life out of people. Ooh. Sharon would like to be a horticulturist. Wow. Again, are we, any particular area of horticulture, area of it, Sharon, or just across the board? I mean, part of me goes, would you like to own a business doing that, or would you like to be doing it but not selling to the public necessarily? What side of horticulture would you like to be in? Because that's a big genre of things. Now, and again, would that be in greenhouses or outside? Cutting your bonsais outside or something. You know what I mean? It's like there's lots of differences in there. Oh, you'd like to design gardens. Ha. I want to tell you something, Sharon. Somebody that knew what they were doing came to my house once and planted about 10 things. And I thought, I can't believe that's what they did. 10 years, 20 years later, I realized the 10 things they planted were just the right things for my garden. All right, so James is saying, yes, so much fun scaring people. First rule to be a scare actor, do not say boo. Yeah, you don't need to, right? Yeah, and Jody's saying, I love to hear about everybody's dream jobs and their different interests. It's so fascinating. You see, people are fascinating if you ask the right questions. um, and I would like you all to realize that when you hear the answers, can you feel a different connection with people? You're going, wow, I would never have thought that of Beth. All right, Nyasha, no problem, honey. Now, let me ask you another question. If you didn't have to work, what would you do? Let's say you won the lottery and it was really big and you were really smart about investing the money. What would you like to spend the rest of your life doing? All right, so Aaron saying, honestly, my dream job would be some sort of caregiver in some way to help people the same as that I am being helped. Aaron, that makes total sense to me. And I'm pretty sure that in your own way, you do it anyway. I bet you are doing that psychologically for a lot of people, Aaron. James is saying you should come to Colorado in the autumn so I can scare you all. Yeah. Right. Jody says that she'd be building animal rescue places and sanctuaries. We can totally imagine that. Kes would like to be working as a childcare worker and traveling around the world. You know, that's amazing. Yeah. Yes, I'm afraid, James, I'd be just as bad as you are, or good, depending on how you look at it. James is saying if I won the lottery, I'd give half of it away. I'd probably, that would always be my biggest problem. All right. I don't think I'd hold on to it very well. Sharon would move to the beach and continue making hats for children's hospitals and making pillows for hospice. What a wonderful way. You know, that must be such great soul work, Sharon. You know, because I can imagine that each hat that you're making is filled with love, and as is each pillow. Yeah, I can totally see you doing that. In fact, do you know, Sharon, it's really funny. Part of my downsizing is I have bags and bags of wool. And somebody said to me, why aren't you throwing that away? And I said, because I'm going to donate it. I'm just waiting to find the right place to give it. All right. Because either I'm going to end up in a place that has older people that like to crochet and I'll be going, hey, take your pick, you know. Or I'm going to donate it to somewhere where that they can use all the different wools. Because I think the chances that I'm going to use it are slim, but you know, you hold on to it just in case I ever go back to crocheting and knitting and doing things like that. And fabric as well, Sharon. Yep. I've got a pile of that as well. I think one of my hobbies was being a fabric collector. Do any of you relate to that? And James said, yeah. Now, on the other half, I'd buy myself a Ferrari and a Volkswagen Rabbit. A red Ferrari. Now, we all know Beth's answer to this, but for the rest of us, if there was an Olympic event for everyday activities, what activity would you have a good chance of winning a medal at? Everyday activities. What? And Sharon says snacking. Yeah, but yeah, you'd have a yellow Ferrari. Yeah, something, you know, not very conspicuous. I got to ride in a red one up Hawaii. It was great fun. Yeah, Beth, obviously we knew you'd win one in cleaning. I don't know what I'd win a medal at in my everyday activity. Kez is saying that she'd win it for washing dishes because she used to do that as a job. Yeah, she's very good at that. Yeah, part of me goes maybe problem solving. I seem to be quite good at that. Or counselor. I seem to spend a lot of time doing that too. All right, now take a moment, everybody, because this one is a very important one. James says, improv. Oh, I never thought about that. Improv comedy or pillow fighting. Ah, Jody, that's so cute. Jody says, mine would have been worrying before I met Sal. All right, so what would your perfect vacation look like? Wow. Yvonne just sent me a note and said, Happy Canadian Citizenship Day. Apparently 6 years ago today, I became a Canadian citizen, sorry. Ah, Beth says, is there such a thing as a gold medal for meal prep? Yes, I forgot that was another skill of yours. Well done. Let me just thank Yvonne here, because that's very kind of her to remember that. Yvonne's like that. She has a memory for dates. All right, Sharon says her perfect vacation would involve sun and water. Now, would that be like sailing across the water or listening to the waves gently lapping onto the shore water, or waterfalls? Really, Kez? You see, what a fascinating answer. Kez would love to go and visit the orangutans in Borneo. Amazing. Okay, good to see you too, James. Hope to see you again. Good Nacht and sleep well. Slapen Sie good, or whatever it is. All right, so Sharon, the water that Sharon would like to see is ocean. Okay. And would you be lying on the beach looking at it, or would you be on it? Because, you know, there's two different personalities. Erin says that's funny that you would know I'm able to help people around you psychologically, so they call me the psychiatrist of the building. Yeah, you know something, Erin, there's no way I could imagine you doing anything but help people. Beth says her idea of the ideal vacation would be just with her husband and no electronic devices. You know, Erin, the ability to listen to people's problems is a rare talent. Jody says, I wouldn't pass up a few weeks in Italy and England and maybe have tea with the Queen. That is cute, Jody. All right, so Sharon would be lying on the beach, walking the beach, or on a float, just riding the waves quite gently. You know, I don't feel that this is, you know, riding the waves like, you know, surfing. I see just, you know, gently going with the tide. I mean, yeah, wonderful. Preferably not out, but in. No, not goodbye, Sharon, as you go out with the tide. But yeah, that does sound so relaxing, doesn't it? I used to do, Sharon, I used to do a meditation that literally took people onto a beach and then into the water and then, you know, into the deeper water. And then, you know, and I should do that one day. Would any of you like that, to do a meditation? The difficulty I would have is that once I started it, I would not be able to allow anybody to talk because I wouldn't be able to concentrate. Yeah, I would have to do it as a standalone almost, maybe record it and put it up for you guys. Yeah. What ideal vacation? I've had most of mine. For some reason, I still would like to go to Belize. I don't know why. Um, There are certain places in my life. I still would like to go to, as some of you know, to New Orleans. I love jazz and I love the atmosphere, and I think I would really enjoy the people. So I would really like to see New Orleans, and the part of me is still considering whether to take some money and go on a cruise and go and see Belize. I think I would do it on a cruise ship, though, rather than fly there. Relax on the way there. And I wouldn't have to stay very long. I just want to say I've been there. I'm not a very good tourist. Do I have a favorite? Yes, I have a couple of favorites, Jody. Both of them islands, funny enough. I loved the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. Been there a number of times, probably 5 or 6 times while I was in Africa. And the other one was the island of Andros in the Bahamas, I think. Very isolated, but loved it there. It was an incredible beach, incredible everything. Sharon's going on her first cruise in October. Good for you. I hope you enjoy it, Sharon. And let me warn you of at least 2 things. How long is the cruise, first of all? Oh, I want to tell you, it was both those. I think, funny enough, I was at the Club Med in Mauritius. I was young enough to really enjoy the Club Med, and I really still have fond memories of that. And then the island of Andros was difficult to get to, but boy, it was so pretty. I really loved it there. So have anybody else been cruising? 5 days and 4 nights. Okay, so, and where will you be cruising, Sharon? Lauren, some of you know, is wheelchair bound, and she's considering going on another cruise, but, her first one was traumatizing for her. You know something, though? I think, Lauren, you'd have a lot different questions up front and guarantees up front to make sure you got the right thing. Yeah, Isabel's been on one. I've spent my life on cruise ships one way and another. Throughout my life, I've probably done less cruising in the last 20 years, but before that, I used to do quite a bit. Yeah, Lauren, I think that you learned a lot from that first one. I don't think you'd have the same problems, and you'd be much more aware of the questions to ask and make sure you had covered off. That's called, there's nothing to beat experience, right? The other thing I would do is I would start researching, if there's a group of travelers who are in wheelchairs, which cruise lines they recommend from their experience. There's got to be a whole group of people that have been traveling on cruise lines, that are wheelchair bound, Lauren. Nothing like getting it from the people who've done it, right? So yeah, I was going to say, Sharon, a couple of things. Number one is, boy, they do feed you well. Cozumel and the Yucatan. Okay, I've been there, so just want to tell you, they feed you a lot, so be aware of what you're eating, and either do a lot of walking or else, make sure you hit the gym every day. Otherwise, you're going to put on 10 pounds. That is one thing. The other thing is, make sure if you're in Mexico, that you have got plenty of medication. They say don't drink the water, but be aware that water touches everything. So if you're eating off the boat, if you're doing a tour or something, take your water from the boat with you. Don't drink the local water. The other thing is if you eat the local food, the chances of you getting some sort of stomach bug are pretty good. So, make sure you take and medication for that. The other thing about cruises, oh yes, be aware that they actually will charge you to tip everybody. And they somehow or other that gets into the small print of a ticket. But they literally will take over and above your cruise fare. They will take as much as $10 a day to for your cabin person, or it can be $10 a day for the person, the maitre d' at the restaurant. You know what I mean? It's like there are all sorts of these little things. You've prepaid the tips. Okay, good. All right. So they also be very careful, before you start drinking their exotic drinks. They make a lot of money on this. This is called, sneak a bottle of your favorite with you. And order orange juice and then tip it in. But I want to tell you, I love the life. It is one thing I'm actually going to treat myself to in my next phase of my life. I'm going to do at least one more cruise, maybe more. It would mean a whole new wardrobe. What can I say? And how many of you can see that I'd get into all sorts of trouble on a cruise? So is anybody else planning a holiday this year? Let's see if we've got anybody else doing anything interesting. Amazon sells shampoo and conditioner bottles to put your alcohol in for cruises. I think that's beautiful. I know, but if I go on a cruise, people, you won't be getting very many broadcasts, if any, because the Wi-Fi is so bad. I'm hoping by the time I do the cruise, they will have sorted that problem out, because, I will have to do, or I will have to pay for some sort of satellite connection. How many of you know, hello, Benji, how do I do this? Because I'm sure he knows. What is the silliest fear you have? I know what mine is. Well, something funny, Jodi's saying you deserve a fantastic vacation, Sal. You dedicate so much of your life to DMS, DearMamaSal. Yes, and before that, it was to Rotary. So there's part of me that goes, yeah, I think I'd really like to do it. I would have loved to have done it, actually, with Angela. And, isn't that funny? But it really is something that she and I were planning to do at one point, because she would be very amusing to do a cruise with. So what is your silliest fear? I have one. It's really weird. Oh, Isabel says spiders. I have a fear of filling in legal documents. Can you believe that? Things like citizenship papers, or buying and selling a house, anything that requires legal papers scares me to pieces. I actually am smart enough to know that I get really scared doing things like that. I think I lived, a lot of my life in a police state or very close to it. And if you filled out the form wrong, they could throw you in jail. And I think that had something to do with it. And, quite honestly, it's where it says, that you have to sign that everything you've written here is true. And I'm going, I think it is, but I'm not 100%, and to me, because I'm very, to me, that's a scary thing to sign, because maybe I forgot something. Maybe I got the date wrong. So I get terrified for some reason. Yeah, which one do you find frightening, the spiders or the forms, Jody? Now, it's a silly, and the other thing that is a real problem for me is telling the truth. And I have a fear now of being asked a question because I do tell the truth. Like, for example, on one form that I had to fill in, it asked if I had ever smoked weed. And, somebody gave me what I thought was a hand-rolled cigarette once, and it turned out to be weed. So when I saw that question, I answered yes and explained when it had happened. And, I remember somebody saying nobody would ever put that on a form. And I went, but they asked me if I had ever smoked weed, and the answer was yes, I have. By the way, it costs me hugely in my medical insurance because I answered that honestly. So I think that's why also I have a fear of forms, is because they can come back and bite you without you even realizing. For example, I found out that my medical, my insurance was greatly affected by the fact that I'd ever been on antidepressants in my life. They don't tell you that when you go on them. So there are all sorts of things that I have quite a fear of. Yeah. So, to me, it's like telling the truth is an issue for me. do any of you relate to that? Oh, your Nana's got a fear of turning switches on and off. Really? Obviously, something happened once. Well, something, Nyasha, when you live on an island, that is very understandable as well. Nyasha's saying she has a fear of walking along a jetty and then getting onto a boat, because she doesn't know how deep the water is. Yeah, interesting one, Nyasha. I think you're not alone on that. A lot of people would feel the same. Can you swim? All right, so Judy's saying, I can understand that about telling the truth because I think to myself, am I being honest? Has my memory failed me in some way? Yes. All right, Nyasha, so that's part of the fear as well, right? Like if that water is deeper than you think it is and you fell in, it could be a risk for you. And that's why you have that fear. I take my water wings with me. You know what I mean? I don't care if it looks stupid. If I had that fear, I would take my little blow up water wings with me just in case. Right, this is a nice one. What is the most beautiful view you have ever seen? I have two, both the sunsets. I think for anybody who's ever seen an African sunset, a most amazing sight. The colors, the colors are just astounding. You know, the sun reflecting off the the sort of golden brown sand. The colors that you see in paintings in Africa are not made up. They are real colors like that come up in the sunsets. Just amazing. And the other one was lying in the water in Mauritius, you know, just lying in the shallow water, with a drink in my hand, watching the sun go down, with huge speakers on the beach playing classical music. I always remember that. It was like I was on another planet. You know, literally lying there with this beautifully warm water just lapping over me, these incredible speakers playing this classical music, and the sun setting. Oh, amazing. You know, that'll stay in my mind for a lifetime. Part of me would like to go back to Mauritius just to see it one more time. Yes, Jodie's saying the ocean sunset in Maine. Yes, exactly. You know, I think a lot of us have those sort of memories. Yeah, I think part of me, you know, has never been to South America other than, you know, just, you know, I don't count Mexico as that, it's not really there. I think that's why I'd like to go to Belize, because it's South America and I've never visited South America. And I'd like to see what the sunsets look like in South America. I've seen them in Africa, I've seen them in Europe, I've seen them in North Africa and North America. I'd like to see them in South America now. All right. Hi, Eva. Eva's saying she's never been outside the US. You know something? Some people live magical lives, never leaving their hometown. You know, I just happen to have spent a lot of my life traveling. So, Eva, don't see that as that makes me special. I just, you know, was very fortunate in my life that I got to travel a great deal. But I've also met incredibly magical people. And I've got to say this, I've met incredible magical people that really are wonderful people to meet. And they've never left their hometown, never mind the state. You know, and it's just like, but they're so happy. All right, now this one is a pretty meaningful question, and one that I'm pretty sure that some of you have thought of. If you knew you were going to die within the next year, what would you change about your life? If you knew that you were going to die, and I pray God that doesn't happen, but if you knew you were going to die within the next year, what change would you make to your life right now? And I love hearing people's answer to this, because most people know what they would change. Anybody? I know there's a bit of a lag on the broadcast, so I don't want to rush into the next question without giving everybody a chance on this one. All right. So Lauren's saying that she would improve her social life and travel more. By the way, Lauren, would traveling more also improve your social life? And I guess the question, thank you for answering. You see, I guess the question is, why wouldn't you do that anyway? All right. And so you now know that's something that you'd like to work on. And, you know, I know that you've got at least two people in this room today that care about you, Lauren. So we're going to be at you on those two issues, all right? Jody would like to make sure that everyone that you hold dear in your heart had handcrafted pieces of artwork from you, so they had a piece of me and know that I cared about them. They had something from my hands. Isn't that beautiful? Nyasha says, wow, I'd like to get rid of all my illnesses so I could do whatever I wanted to do. I've wished to do so many things in my life, but I couldn't because of them. You know something, Nyasha? Honestly, I think that it is a good time for you to say, I don't care the reasons why I didn't do things before. I'm going to do them now while I still can in some way. You know, that is the interesting thing. And, you know, almost everybody in this room suffers from illnesses of different sorts, but they still do things that they want to do. So, I know it's different for you because, you know, you live in a different place and your parents are very controlling of you. But, you know, I would really be working on how do I do this? So I'd like you all to think about, you know, what would you change? And then I suggest spend the year changing it. You know, don't answer that question the same way next year. You know, if I ask the question this time next year, what are you most proud of in the last year? I would like Lauren to be able to say, I improved my social life and I've traveled more. So Jody, could you make a note of that so we can follow up on her? Sorry about that, Lauren. Right. And so Isabel's wonderful excuse, and I want you to hear this, Isabel. Yes, we need a good friend to do things together. I found this hard living far away from my friends and family. Duh, Isabel? Isabel? Okay, Jody, could you write that down for me as well? Isabel needs friends. Right, Isabel, if I paid you $1 million to find some friends in this year, do you think you could? I know you're far from home, but so Isabel needs some friends. We're going to support Isabel to do that. Yes, Isabel. If I said to you, Isabel, if this time next year you can say to me, I made 3 new friends this year and we've done all sorts of fun things. You know, and if I said to you, if you could do that, I'd pay you $1 million. Do you think you could find yourself some friends? By the way, Isabel, serious question. How did you find the friends that you had at home? See, I want people to understand that. How did you find the friends that you've got today? All right, so Nyasha say, Nyasha, I'm not going to read that out loud because I know that you don't necessarily want that repeated out loud. I understand that. Yeah, you were being more social, you see, and I think that's what I want you to look at, Isabel. I think that you are more than capable of finding your friends where you are. You do need to leave the door, and go out and meet people. Yeah, absolutely, a delight. I agree with you, Jody. So Nyasha, I'm not Nyasha, Jody, we're going to support Isabel on getting out and about and making some friends. So we are just about to close the broadcast, and I'm hoping that some of you can see that by asking certain questions, you can find out all sorts of things about people. How many of you learned something new about any of the viewers today? Because what I want you to see is that the way we find out things is by asking, how many of you learned something new about yourself? And when you think about it, we just asked questions and had people answer. And it was by choice that people answered. And therefore, I found it, this is the wonderful thing about asking questions. So I would challenge you all from this point onwards that whenever you get into an uncomfortable situation, or you're dealing with somebody that you really, seem to have a block with. Jody, I'm thinking about that lady at the doctor's office, whatever. Really good idea to ask, a question like this. Just so that you can see a different part of that person that if you've got somebody that you just don't seem to be able to get on with, try asking a few questions and see what you get back as answers. Because you probably find that you have a lot in common. You just haven't got to that point yet. Nyasha's saying your broadcast is always so educational. I hope you enjoy them, Nyasha. Yeah. I found in my lifetime, Jody, some of the people I had the most trouble getting to know were the ones that were just like me. And that was scary to me. That they had a performer side that came out when they were working, and it took a lot of bricks to come down before you actually found the human being behind them. Do you know what I mean? And so make it a mission that every time you go there, Jody, ask and just keep trying to get a little bit more information. I think you'll be amazed. Make it a challenge for you to actually show interest in her. And it would be a great thing to learn how to do this year, because it will affect your life and hers. You will end up with a very helpful person when you go there, which I know would give you great pleasure. So I hope it's been of value to you. I hope that some of you got a smile out of it. And more than anything else, I hope that you can see that showing an interest, really can bring you a lot of understanding about somebody that you might not have had before. And if you can see that, then whenever you're out and about, if people aren't asking you the questions that you would like them to ask and show interest in you, why don't you show interest in them? And you'll find that, life gets a lot more interesting. You're going to learn a lot. For example, just to give you an example, I was at my doctor's office, and there was a lady much older than I am with a really, really amazing looking walker. You know what I mean? It was like the be all and end all of walkers. And you know what I'm like? I'm going, hang on a second, let me get my camera here. I want to get the name of this walker. I might need one. And this looks like one, heck of a good one. And this woman just burst out laughing. And I said, what do you like about it? And is it well made? And if so, why? And I just literally, I literally spent about 10 minutes getting information on this walker from this lady who probably had never been asked about her walker. But something, she knew an awful lot about the pros and cons of that walker. And it was a great color. It was just an unbelievably great sort of electric red color. And it was just like awesome. And I got quite upset when they called me to go and see the doctor, which is what I was there for. And I'm going, yeah, I'll be right there. Because it was just fascinating. So I'm hoping that exactly that, Jody. I was trying to think, what help could I give anybody who is socially awkward or has anxiety about being with other people? You see, what happens is we don't know what to say a lot of the times. We don't know how to start a conversation, or we don't know what to do other than be a wallflower, and stand back and say nothing and feel awkward. I have found that you're literally just getting up the courage to ask somebody a question works wonders for me. And most people are only too happy to chat to you because they're feeling pretty nervous too. I hope that makes sense to people, that if, it's, you're not alone. You're not the only one feeling a little bit out of it. Other people feel the same way. People presume because I am who I am that I don't feel nervous meeting other people. Yep, I always feel nervous. I know I could be judged harshly, and I am sometimes. But the truth is, I'd rather get a chance of finding somebody that I'd like to talk to. So everybody, take the risk. You can stay at home and use all the excuses why you can't get out, and you can use all the excuses why you can't do any sports. You can use all the excuses why you can't learn a new skill. Jody, you can give me all the excuses you like. And by the way, Lauren, we're going to get on her for this one about why you hadn't got time to be creative. Or we can go, this is within our control. So I challenge you all to give less excuses this year and do more of what you want to do, in case it's your last year. And you see, my reality is none of us knows whether it is our last year or not. Doesn't matter how young we are, how old we are, none of us knows whether this is our last year. And therefore, I really do challenge you all, make it your best year. Do the things you've always wanted to do. Plan them out and do them. And that will make it the best year of your life in a lot of ways, because you will get such joy. And some things will be a disappointment. Gosh, I waited a whole lifetime to do that, and I really didn't like it that much, but at least I did it. And so I challenge you, stop the excuses, start doing what you want to do. Stop trying to please everybody else and just start doing what you want to do. The reason, Jody, that artists are good at what they do is they spend a lot of time doing it and perfecting the skill. It's a bit like learning to drive a car. You're dangerous on the road until you have driven it. Now, most of us drive cars without even thinking twice. Why? We've driven so many thousands of miles. It becomes second nature. Jody, it's like your 2 times table. is quite easy, but your 17 times table probably is a bit challenging. So I would challenge you all as we start March to go, this year, I'm going to do the things I keep saying I'm going to do. And at the end of every year, I have all the excuses why I didn't do it. Have fun, people. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you, Jody, for looking after me during the broadcast, as you always do so well. Thank you, Lauren, for your honesty about life in a wheelchair, because I think it always brings really good perspective. Erin, thank you for always bringing in your perspective as somebody that is, basically bedridden. But, the things that you do, I know, make a difference in people's lives, Erin. And there is no doubt in my mind that you make a difference in people's lives every day of your life, just by being who you are, as we all can. I wish you all a wonderful weekend, wherever you are. I'll see some of you on Sunday for Soul Sunday. In the meantime, big hug from me to you. Have a wonderful day and weekend. I'll see you then. Bye-bye for now.